So sit back, relax, and let's start building. We're starting out by building a drill bit to help us clean our keyboards. We'll hot glue the head of a toothbrush to this bottle cap like so, and then attach it to the chuck of our drill. Now we can use the drill to help us brush away any loose dirt and debris from our keyboard. Let's convert our angle grinder into a circular saw. Screw in a large T-shaped door hinge to one end of this MDF. Then we'll attach the angle grinder to the long lever of the door hinge and make a slit in the MDF. Now we can use it just like a circular saw. We can use wing nuts as wire clips. We can pin these two sheets together with just a couple of zip ties and a couple of washers. Pass the first zip tie through the hole with a washer on both ends. Then use the second zip tie to fasten everything together. And lastly, just clip off the ends of the zip ties. Carrying large sheets of plywood is difficult and awkward. We can make a tool that can help us out. We'll solder this rebar together into a shape that looks like this. Then we'll add plastic tubing around the rebar for extra grip. We can see here how an expansion anchor works from the inside. Next, let's make an LED light that turns on when plugged into a USB outlet. First, we'll take a capacitor and solder it onto the USB plug. Then we'll solder on an LED light. Now we can plug in our light into our laptop or into a power adapter. Is there an easy way we can solve this equation if we don't happen to have a calculator? We can use this tape measure. Find the number we need and then fold the tape back on itself. We can even mark it in case we forget. Here's a helpful way to secure a chain to the stud by passing a bolt through the center. We'll need to add an adapter fitting to stop this faucet from leaking. First, we'll remove the faucet. Then, we'll add an extra metal fitting that we can safely heat up. Now we can use pliers to pull out the old fitting. We'll then use a pipe welding machine to make sure the new fitting fits nicely. Lastly, we'll screw our faucet back on. Now there's no more leaking. We can attach these razors to this comb with a binder clip and run it over our sweaters to remove any fabric pilling. Here's how we can cut this wood to fit this pipe through. Trace the pipe's circumference and then find its center. Now we can use a hole saw drill bit to cut out that circle. Our next project, we'll be making a little table using nothing but MDF and a router. Screw the board in place and then turn it to make perfectly round cuts. Now we'll cut the two legs so that they fit together. Then screw the tabletop onto the legs. It's that easy. We can round off these corners by first cutting a separate board in the shape that we want. And then we can use a special drill bit to trace along that board. We can turn these washers into a clip to hold rope together. Cut a notch out of the washers and pass a bolt through them. Wrap the first rope around the bolt and pass the other rope through the washers. Looks like this wrench isn't big enough to help us unscrew this cap. Let's use some rope and a square dowel instead. For our last project, we'll be making a miter joint with a thick spline in the center. We'll start by gluing two pieces together, cut at a 45-degree angle. Then we'll mark out where our spline will be using a pencil and a marking gauge. Saw out this area that we've marked out. And we can remove the rest of the wood using a chisel. Glue the spline into the space we've cut out. After it dries, cut off the excess wood. Then we'll sand everything to a smooth finish. Now just add varnish to seal the wood. Let's recycle this old plastic container to use as a shield on our bench grinder. We'll put a bracket on one end like so. Now we have protection from sparks. We can make some slits into this plastic tubing and then attach it to a bolt to make a temporary drywall anchor. Now just an extra washer to make it more secure. Our next project is going to be a tool that helps us carve out hex nut indentations. We'll attach it to a bolt like so that it looks like this. Now we can trace out our hex nut and use our tool like a chisel and hammer it into the wood. Now everything fits perfectly. We want to remove this knot from this board. Drill it out and then use a hole saw to cut out a round that's the same size as the hole that we drilled. Fill this hole with glue and insert the round. In this case, we're using a chisel and then a planer to level the surface. Let's create a tool that helps us easily cut out grooves in our foam panels. We'll drill these two pieces of wood together to make a right angle. Then we'll mount a snap blade to both sides of the tool. Now we can cut out a groove, which prevents a gap between these foam panels. Now we'll be building a bottle opener with a magnet inside out of this log. We'll cut out a plank like so, and then we'll trace where we want the magnet to be. Then using a drill and chisels, we can carve out a hole big enough for the magnet. We'll take apart this clamp and use the metal piece as our can opener. We'll attach it to the side opposite the magnet. Then add a bit of varnish. And now when we open our bottles, the caps stick to the board instead of falling onto the floor. We can cut out a strip of metal from this old can and use it to help us tear off pieces of tape. We'll be printing on a pre-printed image onto this log. We'll want to sand it first, and then we'll cut out the image and glue it onto the log. After soaking in water, we can peel off the plastic adhesive. And what's left on the log is our image. We can use this piece of wood from an old piece of furniture and turn it into a charging stand for our phone. We'll trace out the appropriate size and use a jigsaw to cut it out. Then, a bit of sanding paper to smooth off the edges. We'll use a washer to mark out where we'll cut the 3 holes. The 2 on the ends will be smaller, and the center hole will be larger. We'll install bolts into the smaller holes. These will act as stands. Now we can pass our charger through the center hole to charge our phone. This large plastic bottle will make a really convenient garbage can. We'll mark out most of the top, but leaving a little strip with the cap. It should look like this. Now we can attach it to the cabinet door underneath the sink to easily discard any scraps. If we remove the handle from this large plastic bottle, we can bend the tabs like so. This gives us a quick and easy phone stand. The blades on this grater are getting a little bit dull. To sharpen them, we can use the bottom of this ceramic cup. Good as new. We can also use the bottom of this mug to sharpen any ordinary knives as well. We need to pass some wire through this plastic tubing, and pushing it wouldn't be the best option. What we can do instead is cut out a little circle of foam that's about the same size as the tubing. We'll then pass a string through the center of the foam and fasten it with a knot. Now we'll use the vacuum to suck up the string until it passes all the way through the plastic tubing. As you can see, it's come out the other side. But we're not done. We want to pass the wire through the tubing, not just the string. We'll tie the string to one of the wires securely. Folding a single wire back on itself, and then wrapping everything with tape will ensure that the string doesn't slip off. Now we'll pull the string from the other end to pass it through the tubing. Once it's passed all the way through, we'll cut off any excess wire and tie a simple overhand knot to make sure that the wire doesn't slip back into the tubing. Here's a quick and easy life hack to help you tie your shoes if you're in a hurry. Here we have an ordinary coat hanger. If we cut the bottom rung in half, we can use this coat hanger to hang paper towels and toilet paper. Next, we have an ordinary piece of scrap wood. We can use our jigsaw to cut it into the shape of the letter P. Then we'll hammer a nail onto the top. And we can use our new tool to help us open cans more easily. If you need to remove a nail that's lost its head, try using a pair of pliers for extra grip. Our next project will be building a mousetrap. Don't worry, this one isn't dangerous. Start by cutting out a board that's the same width as the bottle. We'll want to find the balance point on this bottle, and make 2 marks on both sides and drill holes where the marks are. We'll attach support beams to both sides of our board. Line everything up and drill 2 holes at the same level onto the beams. Screw in 2 bolts on both beams and put the bolts through the holes of the bottle. Tighten the bolts. The bottle should rock back and forth like so. Now we'll cut out a little ramp. All that's left to do is leave some treats inside the bottle. And our last project of this episode is going to be a bird feeder. We'll connect 2 plastic bottles together. We'll just need to make a couple of holes in the bottles for the bird seeds. We can also attach a popsicle stick to give the birds a place to land. Now we'll just fill the bottles with bird seeds.